This is Common Filth Radio, episode 67. Thank you very much for listening. New Bandcamp exclusive series, Common Filth Extra. The first two episodes of that debuted last week, and many of you showed your support by downloading it, and for that, I thank you very, very much. Episode 3, out this week. It's some good stuff. I talk about getting harassed by some BuzzFeed writer. I read another 4chan screenshot similar to the one I read last week, and I talk about what makes me feel alienated. If all that sounds interesting to you, $1 or more will get you Common Filth Extra episode 3. $1 per episode. Good deal. So I have this news story, and I'll just read it. And it should, if it's not disturbing you by now, if you are not seeing a pattern of behavior by now, you are not listening. The title of the story: Gay former police officer reports boxing champion Tyson Fury to GMP for inciting hatred towards homosexuals. Ian Sawyer from Ancoats called police on Tuesday morning after reading a report of what Fury said on Radio 2's Jeremy Vine show. A gay former police officer is behind an official complaint to GMP that New World Heavyweight Boxing Champion Tyson Fury has, quote, incited hatred towards homosexuals, unquote. Ian Sawyer, 55, from Ancoats, called police on Tuesday morning after reading a report of what Fury said on Radio 2's Jeremy Vine show. I don't understand why they, the subheadline, you just copied and pasted it. It's stupid and unprofessional. Get an editor. Oh wait, you work for a legitimate publication apparently. Manchester Evening News. Whatever. Greater Manchester Police has confirmed it is to investigate his complaint, and a formal statement will be taken. Mr. Sawyer, a former constable with South Yorkshire Police, told the MEN, "What he said was just wrong. He needs taking down a peg or two. I'm homosexual myself, and I find his remarks are from the Stone Ages or even further back than that." A glorified, it's the current year argument. And notice what he said there, needs taking down a peg or two. The megalomania is self-evident. You go on Vine, these kids are completely self-assured of the superiority of what they're engaging in. Yet it's, at the same time, fragile. Because if anybody calls its apparent superiority into question, I'm telling on you. Please keep proving to me that you've totally evolved socially past the age of 10. No, I really believe that. I really do. You were the former hall monitor until you got a severance package and some generous health care, I might add. And now you're snitching to the other hall monitors because you can't do it yourself. What else does he say? He said he was upset at Fury linking the legalization of homosexuality with pedophilia. "I'm quite prepared to go to court if necessary," he said, adding, "I was stung when I read his comments. I was upset. My first reaction was to call the police and make a complaint." And there's no way I can keep that up. I have had this before where people have accused me of being a pedophile because they equate it with homosexuality. He's a role model and a sports person of high quality. Many youngsters see him as a role model, and this is not appropriate behavior for a role model. What, he speaks his mind and that's inappropriate? Of course it's inappropriate, because words are scary and inanimate objects are scary and we need to ban them. Is this not emblematic of... No, I'm not even going to ask it rhetorically. This is emblematic of the Western European mindset. People who exist at the top of the social hierarchy who have no business being there. Who can't even handle being there. Because being at the top, you get some criticism. And look how they deal with it. Look how fragile and pathetic they are. Someone said something mean about me. I'm calling the cops. Guns are scary. Let's ban them. The Western European mind views treachery as a virtue. Listen to any of my shows, I've proven this time and time again. There's something fundamentally broken And I have people telling me that Christianity is to blame, that churches are to blame. If the sincerely religious regions, the sincerely Christian regions of Europe are telling the powers that be to fuck off with regard to the migrant crisis, then obviously it's not the religion. It is a cultural, racial component. Something is broken within Western Europeans. Something is broken within Anglos. Something that is seemingly beyond repair. And why am I saying this? Well, you can read the article for yourself. I'll try to remember to link to it below. But he filed a police complaint and the police are like, yes, we'll look into it. You see, in a culture that is healthy, in a culture that has a backbone, the police department would tell this guy to fuck off. Oh, he said something that offends you? Well, that's worth police resources. Where did I leave off? Mr. Sawyer told police he believes Fury's comments incite hatred towards homosexuals. But for the sake of truth, for the sake of being honest, there is a follow-up that was written one day later from the same website. Tyson Fury's controversial comments about homosexuality are not a hate crime, Greater Manchester police say. Tyson Fury's comments about homosexuality are no longer being investigated as a hate crime, police say. Greater Manchester police launched an investigation this week into Wythenshawe-born Fury's remarks after a gay former police officer claimed they had incited hatred towards homosexuals. Ian Sawyer, 55, called police on Tuesday morning after reading a report. Are they copying and pasting already? I feel like I just read this. Officers then took a formal statement from Mr. Sawyer from Ancoats, but after consideration, the force have decided that no criminal offense took place. Fury, 27, sparked outrage after remarks emerged during an interview in which he appeared to link abortion and homosexuality with pedophilia. And there's a headline from here's what he said. Tyson Fury sparks controversy by saying homosexuality, abortion, and pedophilia will cause the world to end. Well, all of these are associated with a death cult. So, I fail to see where he went wrong here. But legally he must have. You know, if the cops looked into it. And he's right. You don't bear fruit with these things. And if you don't bear fruit, we will all starve. What else? Okay. After making his complaint, Mr. Sawyer said Fury was ignorant to the difference between homosexuality and pedophilia. He said Fury was entitled to his opinions, but insisted if they are offensive, he should keep them private, and offered the boxer the chance to do an hour's charity work on Canal Street in Manchester City Centre. The dad of two, whose wife is expecting a third child, and who now lives in Morecambe, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, or is it Morecambe? Who cares? Doesn't matter. Has refused to back down after his controversial outbursts made headlines across the country. The self-styled Gypsy King Fury, who grew up in a house in the village of Stall near Wilmslow, is a devout Roman Catholic, was also accused of being sexist after saying athlete and fellow nominee BBC Sports Personality of the Year award, Jessica Ennis-Hill, looked good in a dress. That is highly offensive. Complimenting somebody at somebody that's highly offensive. The petition calling for the BBC to remove him from the shortlist has already gained more than 130,000 signatures. 130,000 signatures. That is not an insignificant number of people. Olympic gold medalist Greg Rutherford also threatened to withdraw over the inclusion of Fury on the shortlist. After his threat was leaked to the media, Olympian Rutherford said that he refused to bow out because of a bigot. Wow, he's the bigot. There's nothing worse than being a bigot. Fury was also stripped of his IBF world title on Tuesday after organizing a rematch with Klitschko instead of the organization's mandatory challenger. I'm not going to bother pronouncing that name, but his last name is Glazkov. Fury still has the WBO, WBA, and IBO titles. 130,000 people. Remove him from the short list. Versus how many people who dare to speak their mind. Does a culture this craven, cowardly, spineless, treacherous deserve to live? Are craven, cowardly, spineless, treacherous people, do they have the will to live? And it's self-important twats like this police officer, they hold the most privileged position in the English-speaking world. And this is what we put there. Let's translate the things he said. I'm not going to go to the exact quotes, but I remember them. He needs to be taken down a peg or two, and he shouldn't say stuff like this because he should be a role model. And what precisely constitutes a role model? A Pollyanna piece of shit that tells people lies, or somebody that speaks his mind, even if what's on his mind is currently in the unpopular opinion. But his statement about taking down a peg or two, he needs to be taken down a peg or two, is the most telling statement. What this says to me is that this petty, insignificant speck of a male knows that he and people like him occupy the most esteemed position in society, in the English-speaking world. He's held in the highest esteem by most people because most people are dumb enough to get their opinions from professional athletes, potentially, given that they see a behavior on a TV screen or a movie screen and decide to mimic it. He knows that where he is completely undeserved. He knows that his protection is completely undeserved, yet he has many lusts. He is deeply flawed, clearly. That he's going to go snitch to the police over an opinion, a negative opinion. People shouldn't have negative opinions. Yeah, because you lust for power. You have a lust for power amongst many other things. And you have this power, there can be no doubt about that. Yet, you feel so incredibly racked with guilt and doubt about the decisions that you've made in your life, what you identify as first and foremost, that you see somebody make somebody who's of a relatively high profile make a negative statement about not even you. And you feel the need to report this to the authorities. You have a guilty conscience. Words from guys like Tyson Fury, they are tiny little fists beating up against a tidal wave of paws. He doesn't hold the cards. You and your allies do. Yet you don't feel in control. You don't feel in power because of that guilt and doubt you feel. And it is a lot of guilt and doubt. Hell, just go off into a fringe ideological movement that people seem to hold in such high regard. You'll be welcome there. It's at least 50%. 1488, because they're such a perfect size. Oh, what do we have here on Drudge Report? Vandals attack Facebook building in Germany. What else? French far-right fails to win any regions in upset for Le Pen. So much for your great white awakening, you treacherous fucks. And I'm going to read the Vandals attack Facebook thing, because there's something really interesting in here. Vandals have damaged a building housing Facebook offices in Hamburg. Smashing glass, throwing paint, and spraying Facebook dislike on a wall, police in the northern German city said on Sunday. The overnight attack on the social networking group was carried out by a group of 15 to 20 people wearing black clothes and hoods, police said in a statement. An investigation had been launched. A Facebook spokesman said nobody was injured in the incident. He said he could not immediately comment on the possible motive for the act of vandalism. The European head of Facebook is under investigation in Germany over the social network's alleged failure to remove racist hate speech. Now, let me tell you something about Facebook's policies here. You get your shit removed for the most innocuous of offenses. Like, for example, I posted a picture of this chick's Snapchat, a series of Snapchat photos where she's like The straight boys in class are laughing. There's a documentary about gender identity. I hate cis people so much. Now, if you can only hate people with power plus privilege, this would not be considered hate speech. Yet, it got removed. Why? Because it makes them look bad. It makes the privileged group of people, makes the most esteemed group of people look bad. And yet, Germany still has a problem. I bet you those, I would like to be proven wrong on this, but I would say it's a 75% chance that the Vandals were acting in the interests of the state. Were acting in the interests of the German government. What else? The investigation was announced last month as German politicians and celebrities voiced concern about the rise of anti-foreigner comments in German on Facebook and other social media as the country struggles to cope with a refugee influx. Martin Ott, Facebook's managing director for Northern, Central, and Eastern Europe based in Hamburg, may be held responsible for the social platform's failure to remove hate speech, a spokeswoman for the prosecution said last month. A Facebook spokesperson last month declined to comment on the investigation, adding, "We can say that the allegations lack merit and there has been no violation of German law by Facebook or its employees." Facebook has a partnership with a group called FSM, which monitors multimedia service providers on a voluntary basis, and has said it would encourage its users to push back against racism. Tell me something I haven't heard already. It's as if Europe, that's the biggest problem in Europe. And Europeans believe this. And if they don't now, they did when it counted. And now they have to live with the future that they chose. Okay, I have a lot of emails this week, so pardon if I rush through them, but I don't like leaving things undone, so let's go. Hey CF, I'm an avid and devoted listener of yours. I'm currently attending college in Humboldt, California at HSU as a political science major. It's about as left gets, with genderqueer administrators, transgender support staff, and socialist cuckold leftist buffoons all over the place. Your podcasts and videos have not only gave me a place to retreat a few times a week, but also have helped keep me sane, brought me closer to the Lord, and made me more sure of my own beliefs. You have really helped me out a lot, and I've recruited a few of my close friends as listeners of your show, and I hope to buy Common Filth Extra and your Tumblristas videos this week. Well, thank you for the consideration, thank you for the support, and thank you for spreading the word. I saw this article and immediately thought that it sounded like something you'd read on your show. I really would like to hear your thoughts on it at some point. Here's the article. And this has been sent to me by a lot of people. Transgender father, Stephanie Woolshit. I said Woolshit. Yeah, Woolshit. Yeah, you are a shit. Leaves family in Toronto to start new life as a 6-year-old girl. She says she does not want to be an adult right now. Look, the reason why I'm not going to talk about this, why I'm not going to drone on about it too long, I think it's a work. It is too absurd. Listen, I wouldn't be surprised if it were real, but I have this sense that this is just some piece conjured up by some PR firm that wants to make regular trans people look good. So I'll refrain from comment on it because pretty much everyone already has, and I have my suspicions. Anyway, continuing with the email. May God bless you, CF. You really are doing the Lord's work out there. I am grateful that I found you, and through your show and the church have been given the moral courage to stand apart from these cum-loving, ass-worshipping, pleasure-driven animals. Well, I'm glad to hear it, and thank you for the email. But I will warn you of the dangers of living this schizophrenic lifestyle that you live. It's good that you've recruited friends to listen to the show, but I had no such luxury when I was in your situation. I eventually snapped, and then not too long after, I started an edgy internet show. You think you're so smart and edgy. actual quote from somebody that does not like what I do. Next, are you a Catholic or a Protestant? Also with that, do you think in the next 5 years, you think we're going to have a crusades? God bless you and pray for a new pope. Yeah, I'll do that. To be honest, I've talked about this before. I was brought up in Protestant, semi-non-denominational churches, even though I think they were technically affiliated with some larger branch of Christianity. It was just never advertised as such, but I had my fill of suburban theology. I'm not so much interested in the, let the good be good, praise Jesus kind of theology. I'm into the killing demons kind of theology. And somebody's got to do it, and nobody's doing it. And look, I understand that milquetoast church is nice for, middle-aged women with some baggage. I get it. It's better than nothing, but I think that it is a form of decadence. It's slovenly to constantly gaze upon your own relationship with Jesus and be like, yay, Jesus all the time, with no regard to the evil that's out there and no regard to what you need to do to fight it. I understand forgiveness is great, yes, but again, repentance is a prerequisite, and I don't see a lot of repentance. I don't see a lot of forsaking the world. I think the good should speak for itself, and I think the good does speak for itself. But let's not dwell on it. Let's simply use it as a reminder of what we are fighting. Let it give us the strength to fight. I have a screenshot here that somebody on Twitter sent me. It was of a screenshot. I can't quite tell what's going on, but I have an idea due to the caption. This has 59,000 notes on it. Little over 59,000 notes on it. And I'm not going to read the whole thing, but it says at the end, be a Satan man, worship paws, cocks, and orgy-seated assholes. 59,000 people. You're going to tell me that's an insignificant number? And I've been told it's only dozens of people into this shit. Dozens. Yeah. Dozens. How many dozen? Fuck. Alright, next. Do you think if lies are circulated enough, they can eventually become truth in the eyes of a population? Well, it's what this show's all about. Every odious social trend is predicated on falsehood. Point to anything. Listen to what your little sister's talking about. I wouldn't talk about this horrible crap on a weekly basis if I didn't see it somewhere, if I didn't see it repeated by somebody, if I didn't see it on the front page of Drudge Report. Everywhere, constantly. Drip, drip, drip. It's like Chinese water torture. Okay, I'm kind of lost here because I clicked on some of these. Get sponsored? No. Okay, next. Got a great idea for a game you could play with people on your show. Since you follow and look at all this disgusting filth, you could put up pics of trannies during a video. Then make sure they are all men and ask the people to guess if they would fuck her. Just an idea to show the lengths of what these trannies will go to trap you. And if you know their paws and that in there too. Feel free to contact me if you want more input on that. Maybe make it a small satire vid or something. Besides that, I listen to your show and follow you. Glad you were out there. Okay. Should I have read that? I'm gonna have to... No, I'm leaving that in. Sorry. Look, I assume this stuff is more mainstream than not. It's just not something that people talk about in polite company. It's like you think about it, this stuff, and it seems like a really good idea to you in your head, and then you try to explain it to somebody. It's like, wait, you like women with dicks? Yeah, they're called traps. Yeah, try explaining that to grandma. But give it a couple of decades, grandma will be into that herself. Or zerself, rather. Next. I just want to thank you for answering my question from a while back and just wanted to say it has helped me a ton. and trying to attend church more and reading the Bible has become a wonderful pastime. Good for you. That's not sarcastic. That's sincere. But I had another question on celebrating Christmas. Should those who renounce Christianity or those who don't believe in the faith be able to celebrate Christmas? I.e. atheists. My answer is naturally no. They should not be able to. If someone says they cannot believe in God or Jesus Christ, should not be able to take part in the holiday. There's also been some controversy as to an atheist group placing a billboard telling people not to go to church on Christmas. But I was wondering what your thoughts were on the subject, and if you had anything further to say. If you have answered this, then you don't need to. Have a great day, and God bless you. Well, they do celebrate some holiday, but it's not Christmas. Their religion, they have a religion. They think, oh, I'm godless, but consumption is their god. Consumerism, marketing, advertising, that's their god. That's why they celebrate it. TV tells me I need to buy something. Those ads before the movies tell me I need to buy something. That's their religion. That's what they're celebrating. And of course they're not going to want people to go to church. Church might cut into the profit margins. Church might make them feel like the other. And there's nothing worse than feeling othered. But the answer is no, they shouldn't be celebrating it. Even though I think they might say they're getting Christmas presents or whatever, but you know, they're celebrating something else, and I think they should start calling it Pawsmas, where they sacrifice their firstborn at the altar of cultural pause. And that's just great because you want to be a friend of the world, because the world is an excellent place. Okay, next. Got another link to the 6-year-old. I want to start a life as a 6-year-old thing. Article, rather. Found this on Poll. Make sure you get a chance to watch the video on it. This is very shockingly real, but I didn't need to convince you of that. That contradicts what I said. I didn't read this first, so that's funny. Like I said, if it's real, I wouldn't be surprised, but I wouldn't be surprised if it ended up being a work. The reason I'm sending this to you and my friends on the fence is the impact this one man's severe mental illness, and more importantly, the acceptance of it, has had on those around him. He left behind a wife and children to go live as a 6-year-old girl. Now some progressive family is letting this freak live with them and their young daughter. I don't even have to say what will come of this. You know it. I know it. All of your other listeners know it. And all because her parents had to make a big show of how progressive they were by letting a 6'2", 300-pound mentally ill man come live with them, pretending he was a little girl too. Just another piece of the evidence in the mounting pile showing it does affect all of us. But this one really stuck out to me. Thanks for reading and answering my past questions, although this one here isn't a question. Well, you're welcome. I absolutely hate the phrase, it doesn't affect you. Because every decision you make puts you in a certain mood. It affects how you treat other people. People in your life, people you know, people you have intimate relationships with, will look to your behavior and make a judgment about it. And that's how it affects you. There's no decision you make that just happens in a vacuum. It just doesn't happen. There's no such thing as a perfectly isolated incident. If you engage in bullshit, if you engage in lies, if you conduct yourself as a freak show, somebody's going to be negatively affected by that. And next, yet another link to this story. Hey, Common Filth, thanks for answering my question last week. I appreciate it. Not to spam your inbox, but I found this and I thought you might be interested in it, unfortunately. I'd be very surprised if I'm the only one sending you this, but I think this and the response it's been getting perfectly illustrates what you said once about not tolerating this kind of degeneracy in any form. So many moderate conservatives and supposedly red pill individuals saw this and said, well, I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with being trans, but this is wrong. while completely oblivious to the fact that such an attitude is exactly how something like this was enabled to happen. Do you think that this limp-wristed half measure is partially to blame for shit like this, and how bad is it going to get before they realize that they can't play both sides of the fence forever? Once I had a nightmare that there was a news story about a commune full of trans adults who lived like babies together in a big compound. But after this, I don't think it was a dream. I think it was a prophetic vision of the future. Anyway, sorry I probably ruined your day with this. I hope everything is okay otherwise. I ruin my own day every day. I must. I can't have too many good days or else it'll just come crashing down. And your dream. Your dream is not a prophetic vision of the future. No, it is simply a documentary. A stylized documentary of actuality in the current year. Next. Hey, I really enjoy your show and appreciate your exposure to much of the degeneracy we see today. This might be a little long, so feel free to skip or skim it if you want. I regret to say I am part of the sick generation, being sophomore in college. Many of my professors told me I should feel guilty just because of the sole fact that I was white. The other students were some of the most fucked up people I had ever met. College is best described as Tumblr incarnate in real life. Well, I'm sure you already knew this. After a year and a half of being in this shitty college, I have met no decent women, as they mostly seem to be sluts or have the whole I'm a special feminist snowflake mentality. And any decent man I meet is usually a depressed beta who cannot speak up for themselves under any circumstances. Add all the wannabe trans, gay, and communist supporters, and you have yourself a cesspool of the worst kinds of people. I've seen perfectly fine people jump right into this toxic degeneracy in as little as a few days, especially the females. The men, on the other hand, either give in to the agenda and start to go to the Earth's end just to defend these SJWs in the hopes of getting any sort of female acknowledgement, or just become further recluse from their peers. My question is, what makes my generation so easy to brainwash as a whole? Why do none of them care about anything in the long run, and would rather throw out the little decency they did have for a quick thrill? These damn people literally act like impulsive animals. You cannot speak any real sense to them, no matter how clear you are, no matter how much truth you shove into their face. Sorry if this was a bit long. I appreciate you read this. Thanks again. Young people now are products of generations who are completely morally apathetic. Amoral subhumans. Who were the generations leading up to this one? Leading up to the next one? You have the silents, who are like millennials. Probably a little bit smarter, but they're still pieces of shit of roughly the same size. Then you have boomers, who are even bigger pieces of shit. And then you have Gen Xers, who, to be honest, could go either way. They're morally apathetic, but in a more benign way. And if they are not benign, they care about some stupid shit like putting gay characters in their sitcoms. And that's their form of activism. Millennials and post-millennials, whatever the hell they're going to call those, they're a product of a long line of moral apathy. Now, generally, when you are without a purpose, you are without moral boundaries for that long, there tends to be a pretty harsh reaction. Generally, in a way you would not like to see, in a direction you would not like to see things go. How many young people out there think that civilization hinges upon marriage equality, Roe v. Wade? I have a post that I took recently from Tumblr saying that this is the best country now. You just want to make America great again for white men. Here we go. It says, make America great again? When was it better than this? Pre-Roe v. Wade? Pre-Title IX? Pre-Civil Rights Act? Pre-EPA? Pre-ADA? Pre-marriage equality? Pre-child protective services? Maybe before labor laws existed? When was this amazing era of greatness? Oh, you mean make America great for rich white cishet abled adult men again? And never mind the fact that all of these things were enabled by rich white cishet able adult men. Abled adult men. Abled. What the hell does that even mean? Abled. Don't you mean able-bodied? Able-bodied. As if that is a negative thing. These are people that think putting unequal things, considering them equal, doesn't lead to any negative externalities. Of course, they don't view things on a hierarchy. They think that ripping a partially formed baby limb from limb from a woman's vagina, that's a good thing. And child protective services. Who the fuck protects children anymore? We have no... You talk about Roe v. Wade and you talk about child protective services. Unbelievable. This is why you don't engage with these people. Don't talk to them. Belittle them. Make them suffer. Pre-EPA. What, like we're all for fuck's sake. Yeah, I'm sure you think that California is all green and great and not a smog-infested shithole. It's all beaches. Everyone lives on a beach and they cast out their fishing pole and it's all locally sourced stuff down at the taco truck and totally not mystery meat. Nope. Kind of getting off track here, but what makes young people so easy to brainwash? Well, I mean, young people are heavily conformist despite their posturing to the contrary. They just don't want to conform to their parents' standards. Fuck you, mom. Fuck you, dad. It's a phase, but you should grow out of it, and very few people do, especially now. And now, with all that being said, we will venture to the far-off land of r/common filth. And I have a weekly question thread there if you would like to participate, reddit.com/r/common filth. Several episodes prior, you mentioned an increasing sympathy for antinatalism. Has anything changed in that field? Additionally, if asked by acquaintances about your political or social stances, what is your response? Lately, I've quit hiding my power level, but I'm worried that it will bite me in the ass later. Not that it matters much in the grand scheme of things. Whenever I see new mothers and fathers together with their babies, my mind goes to this question. Do you have a plan? Do these people have a plan? Do these new parents have a plan to equip their child against the social, cultural environment it will grow up into? Do they have a plan? Will they properly equip their child to defend itself against evil? If the answer is yes, we do have a plan. Great. Best of luck to you. I hope you have a large, happy family. And I wish nothing but the best for that. But if the answer to that question is no, these people who don't have a plan fall into two different categories. Either they are completely oblivious of present and future social conditions, or they are contributing to the evil. In either case, they should not be reproducing. And that is my stance. And if somebody asks me about my social views, I generally don't hide what I think. I don't assign a name to it. I don't say, well, as a blankety blank, I believe in this. No, that's not something I say. But to be honest, nobody asks me. Because I don't think anybody really gives a shit. Alright, next. Hey CF, another university student here looking for some advice. Well, maybe not so much advice as it is reassurance. I'm going into engineering and have a calculus final tomorrow, I guess. I wrote this for episode 66 until I realized you already recorded it. Well, I do apologize. But, yeah, for the sake of, for my audience's sake, I'm now taking down the sticky on the sticky thread on the subreddit to tell people I've ceased recording. The session is over. It is closed. So, I do apologize regardless that you didn't get it in time. I've not done well at all in the class. I've been saying it's because I'm not used to how fast the classes go, but in reality it's probably just because I didn't try hard enough. I'll need to get at least a B on the final in order to pass the class. Otherwise, I'd be paying something like $6,000 for 3 classes next semester. So I'm going to be holing up in my room for the next week and a half studying and redoing notes while also finishing up some other assignments. But I'm really having a panic attack or something. I can't stop thinking about that exam. I've been having moments of perfect mental clarity, get totally bombarded with thoughts of failure and futility in my predicament. I'm writing this to you right now at 1 in the morning because I don't want to sleep. Otherwise, I'll lose out on time to study and be prepared. I used to de-stress by making terrible vaporwave out of shoegaze tracks I liked, but again, it's making me miss out on studying. Studying in general feels like it won't help because I keep picturing my professors' parents and other relatives' disappointed faces when they discover I failed. I've never felt this way before about any other test of any kind. My parents told me I should find a church in my area. I'm living on my own right now and go to confession or mass. Maybe talk to a pastor. But my college is kind of in the middle of nowhere. I can't find any Catholic churches. And even then, I don't think God would want to hear me plead for help when I haven't remained as devout as I should have been ever since I left for school. A couple of my classmates who I've talked to have suggested smoking or getting high. I disregarded their advice. In short, I'm a nervous wreck right now, laying in a hole of my own design. Your messages to fans have always seemed to be generally very supportive when they're not degenerates, and remind me a lot of the advice my dad gives me when I'm confused about God's plan. TLDR, I'm failing class. Got a shot at passing if I get a B on the final, which feels next to impossible. Could I get some encouraging words? Well, it's temporary. Whatever happens at the other side of it is time. Time will pass. The seasons will change, and in 12 months' time, you will barely remember this. I don't know how it'll turn out for you, how this will turn out for you. I don't know how much you can get accomplished in a week and a half studying, but time will pass. Whatever happens, it will march on, and it won't stop. Hey, CF, checking in from the university in London I mentioned several episodes ago. I've gotten into disagreements over all sorts, including white privilege, LGBTQA rights, bombing Syria amongst others, the recent victory of Jeremy Corbyn, an anti-monarchist, anti-Western socialist as leader of Britain's opposition party, seems like it's emboldened them. It's a struggle trying to speak sanity with them, but I'm a masochist polemicist, so I do it anyway. I've got 2 questions. I know it's not the sort of thing you cover regularly, but what are your thoughts on taking the fight to radical Islam by attacking Syria and the Middle East? Wasn't that what we did the last time? Yeah, that worked out great. Secondly, I'm hoping Ted Cruz takes the nomination from the Republicans and subsequently the White House. Have you been following the race, and if so, who is your preferred candidate? I'm familiar with Trump. I like Cruz okay. But I don't think either of them are going to win. And I think that even if they did win, it wouldn't change by any significant measure the trajectory the culture is taking. You have immigrants who want to vote themselves in more benefits. You have the smarter people of color, these shrill women people of color that feel bad because they slept with too many white guys, so they sound their voices really loudly. They protest a lot because they feel guilty about the shit they've done to their bodies, and they vote in a way that they think will erase their sexual immorality, their transgressions. You have white kids, you have these white sons and daughters who hate their parents. I don't know why, but they do. And they will not pass up an opportunity to express their sentiments. Very important sentiments, very, very thorough, deep thoughts like, fuck you, mom, fuck you, dad. You have a lot of those types. So we are significantly outnumbered. I believe this. I think the information out there, the sort of ideas that are being expressed by people in the culture confirm this. So it's not a belief, it's not a gut feeling, it's informed. 59,000 people. 59,000 people. For what? What did they say about that post? What was said on that post, rather? Where are you? I just had it up. Oh, here it is. Be a Satan man. Worship cocks and orgy-seated assholes. 50,000 people. Now, where there's, like I said, where there's one, there's many. Where there is 59,000 nightmares. Okay, next. Are young Catholic girls actually whores on the down low? Well, if this is code word for our Latina chick slutty, I've heard stuff, but no personal experience there. So I'm sure that Catholic girls, like a lot of many other groups of girls, are on the down low when it comes to sexually transgressive behavior. What United States presidential candidate do you plan on voting for, if any? I don't. And I found a degenerate post for your enjoyment. Okay, great. And this is from r/drugs. I just got fucked by my dealer. And this is by Gay for Drugs. Literally, I got 10 milligram of Adderall for the price of letting him fuck me in the ass. He's a chill dude, and he knew I was bi, so he made the suggestion. His only additional stipulation was that I had to dress like a girl, which I do from time to time anyway. It's not like I didn't have the money. I just got turned on by the idea of being a whore for drugs. Normal. Very normal. Love wins. We even fucked in the alleyway behind my building. It was hot. Anyone have any stories like this? Anyway, I have 27 milligrams Concerta. Should I mix that with the 10 milligram IR Adderall or nah? Edit for the purpose of studying, not partying. Although if you have any suggestions on that too, oh my god. Edit, we used a condom. I don't know why everyone's getting the impression we didn't. I'm a whore, but I'm not stupid. Thanks for the love though. No, you are. You are very, very fucking stupid. Shout out to the peeps offering me legit advice in the midst of the madness I've caused. You guys are good people. Observe what constitutes a good person to the most debased, the most emotionally retarded among us. You got laid and got drugs. If you're into that sort of thing anyway, it sounds like a win-win to me. Right? That's totally a win-win. If you're doing it because you want to, I see nothing wrong with having fun for money. I'm done. ACF, hanging on to faith is hard. It hurts to know that there are people who willingly throw away the biggest thing that separates us from animals, faith. But what is even worse is the pain that comes with wanting faith, or waning faith, rather. I don't want to be an atheist. I hate atheism. It's a disease. How do you do it? How do you expose yourself to the enemies of God and retain what appears to be a solid, unshakable faith in God? Thanks for everything you do. Because I do expose them. I observe their behavior. I look at how the godless behave. And then I look at, well, here's how people behave that have a sense of moral boundaries as demanded by God. People who are concerned with meeting the demands that God places on them. And that is a big reason why. I see more evil coming from godlessness than I see good coming from godlessness. I don't see anything good coming from godlessness. I don't see people who believe in God producing 59,000 notes of be a Satan man, worship cocks and orgy-seated assholes. You see, that is what godlessness produces. People telling me all the time, well, this person who believes in God did this bad thing, so why do you believe in God? You fucking morons. Do I worship that person who did that bad thing? Do I worship fellow Christians? Fuck off. And this is making the assumption that the people they're referring to are actually Christians. Next. I think you're in California, and in that case, they've done their best to make this difficult for you, but are you a firearm owner? Yes. How do you feel about gun ownership generally? I am in favor of it. Do your feelings about the morality and mental capacity of the average person color your opinion on gun ownership? Well, kind of. For example, I don't want these pause pigs to have guns, but thankfully they don't seem very interested in that. But gun ownership, I think, is necessary. I think that self-defense is very important, and I think that unless you're going to be like some fucking nerd training yourself to wield a katana, or you think you're gonna scare people off, you think your muscles are going to deflect bullets, then gun ownership is the way to go. No matter how great your gains, your gains will never make you bulletproof. How do you feel about facial hair on males? If you wear facial hair, how do you wear it? Look, I don't really care. I don't fall on one side of the issue or the other. I have my personal preferences about it, and I don't think they add up to much consequence. But I have positive feelings about gun ownership, because every gun owner I've met, they've never pointed a gun at me, or anybody else for that matter. They all have a healthy respect for what a gun is capable of doing. So that's my opinion. Came across this article on some of the latest excesses of degeneracy which may be of use. And it's an article about chemsex, the alarming new trend of 72-hour drug-fueled sex sessions. I included an article from Vice regarding this on an old episode of Tumblristas. I forget which one it was, but yeah, this is the link you sent me is from the Telegraph, and they're making it seem like straight people engage in it when because they're showing like men and women making out in an elevator and shit. And we all know that's bullshit, because the Vice article is about these gay guys, and I've looked up chemsex stuff on Tumblr, and it's all homosexual males. Party and play, yay! Hey CF, did you see this one already? Text is lost, but it's archived here. Okay. Also, are you watching Star Wars 7? No, and I will tell you why. Is it loaded yet? I'll tell you why right now. I don't really care about the Black Stormtrooper character. If it were just about him and him getting caught up in the wash of some bullshit that's going on, I probably would see it out of curiosity. However, what turned me off of seeing it permanently was the poster. Featured prominently, right in the middle of it, the character that takes priority is the 100-pound waif who's wielding some sort of lightsaber toy. Right there, done. Not seeing it. That poster tells me everything I need to know. So you sent me this from r/relationships. Me, 28-year-old female, with my boyfriend, 29 male, for 1.5 years, can't enjoy kissing him anymore after poop play. I know this exists, but it's a lot different just seeing people telling complete strangers this on a very mainstream website. And this is 88% upvoted. I don't know if I want to read this. There's just something different about seeing people bearing their dirty, filthy souls for the world to see. Okay, I really apologize for how gross this is. The gross this must sound to people, but what started out as a crazy idea has turned into something that is destroying my relationship with my boyfriend. Oh no shit. You being a fucking sex pervert, the worst kind of pervert. Oh, I thought it would strengthen my relationship, but it turned out to ruin my relationship. What do I do? There's nothing you can do. You let the genie out of the bottle. You let the shit genie out of the toilet. That's what you did. And I bet you the answer to this will be, well, just experiment in a safer way. And no, experimentation is what got you here. You dumb fuck. This is what happens when you get your advice from Reddit. Oh my. And you know what? The advice is going to be, well, just keep doing it. No, the advice should be move to a different state. Change your name, change your address, and agree to never speak to each other again. That's how you fix this. And then you deal with you deal with your feelings about it. That's what you're going to have to live with. That's the answer, but nobody will give that answer. Up until a few months ago, my boyfriend and I had an awesome No, you didn't. In fact, it was perfect from my viewpoint. No, it wasn't. We share lots of interests, from simple ones like watching movies to loving to go out dancing at clubs. We also have great chemistry. We started out the relationship having sex probably twice a day for the first few weeks. It leveled off a bit to about 3 to 4 times per week by the 1-year mark in our relationship. We were pretty outgoing in the bedroom and have tried... Of course, we tried toys and role-playing. Yeah, how could this go wrong? The slippery slope's not real. We learned that in college. Fuck. What, simple penis and vagina doesn't feel good enough? That doesn't feel good enough at all. How depraved do you have to be in order for that to just seem like some... It's just like some ordinary sensation like urinating. Yeah, I couldn't see how that could possibly happen. Oh, I have a healthy sex drive, which means that my orgasms feel like peeing. Should I keep reading? I'm not sure how this entered my boyfriend's mind, but shortly after our 1-year anniversary started mentioning that he thought it was sexy when I poop. What the fuck? At first I thought he was joking, so I would just slap him and tell him to be quiet. I don't like to talk about that stuff in general, but he kept it up, and eventually I started to realize he was serious about this. He tried to convince me to poop in front of him for at least a month. Take a breath. Take a deep breath. But he kept it up, and eventually I started to realize he was serious about this. He tried to convince me to poop in front of him for at least a month. I refused to do this. I am an adventurous person, but this was just against my core beliefs. Oh, but the rest of the shit wasn't. Fuck you. I've always been able to date very desirable boys throughout my life, and I did not achieve that by performing my bodily functions around them. Yes, but now you're 28. You're approaching 30, and now you're gonna have to date a string of guys who are like, oh, I like girls who poop in front of me. What the fuck is wrong with everyone? I can't do it anymore. I'm dying on, I'm not dying on the inside, I'm crying on the inside, but laughing on the outside. Because crying on the microphone would be very unmanly. Thing is, I really love my boyfriend, and after weeks of this, I finally broke down and let him watch me poop. This opened a whole can of worms to the point where he was wanting to do this every time he came over. To make matters worse, I live in a roommate situation, so it's not exactly easy for him to follow me in and out of the bathroom in the morning without my roommate noticing some awkwardness. The upside is we always had amazing sex right after this happened, so I let it go on without too much resistance. Oh my god. This is making the front of my head build. There's like a pressure building, like something wants to pop out of my skull. Here's what's now killing me. A few months ago, I agreed to let him taste it. What? Poop, I know how disgusting this sound. He's done it somewhere close to 10 times now. It's nothing too extreme, but he will take a little bite of it and kind of lick it like an ice cream or something. I know this is so gross, and I completely agree. This is you let your women make their own decisions. This woman's father is probably like, I raised a strong, independent woman. Look at the decisions she makes. The poop decisions. I looked the first time out of curiosity, but after that I just left the bathroom and let him do his business. I do not want to be physically present when this happens. So here we are, still in a great relationship and having decent sex after a year and a half, but I am having a really hard time when we kiss now. I just can't get the idea of him with poop in his mouth out of my mind, no matter what we do. I even started thinking his toothbrush is gross when it's sitting by the sink over at his house. I still love him and I want to give him what he wants, but I now feel like I am trapped. What he wants is killing him. Disease, death, waste. I feel like I'm trapped. I tried to bring this up with him, but he basically refused to talk about it. He said I wasn't being understanding and was acting close-minded about the whole thing. You know, I hope I'm getting worked right now. I hope this is all just a ruse. I really do. But, even if it is, it's a really, really well-written one. It sounds very sincere. I tried to bring it up a second time last week, and he was visibly angry, and we didn't have sex at all until now. Can I just put my foot down suddenly after months of this and refuse to let him come in the bathroom with me? Can I dial it back to him just watching me? I'm not sure how he would react. I don't want to ruin this relationship or our sex life. It's over. Leave. Change your name. Leave the state. Never see him or any friendships that you might have as a result of this relationship. Just go. Go. You can't undo this kind of stuff. The best thing you can do is just go. Leave somewhere. It doesn't matter. Somewhere far away. That's the only requirement. But things can't continue like... Okay. Listen, the first reply, the top one. Listen, you and he are both adults. There's no reason you shouldn't be able to talk to him about this. If you can't, or if he won't listen and accuse you of being closed-minded because you think it's gross and your relationship isn't as great as you think it is. He's downplaying your preferences for his. Bottom line, he's putting himself above you and not listening to you. You know, you could just say, he's a shit eater. Go. Leave. Leave. Away. Go. But no. You fucking retards are too weak to say that. He's a shit eater. Can nobody say it? Can nobody just say, shit eater, leave, unclean, away? No, we have to say this relationship isn't as great as you think it is. Oh, that's an understatement. And just so you know, I'm not forgetting. There are more questions. There's a couple questions. There's one more Reddit question, but it's serious. It's very thoughtful, and I want to take the time to give it a serious, thoughtful answer. So, and it's about secular Christianity, something about that. So, you know who you are. I will get to that on the next episode of Common Filth Radio. Common Filth Extra, episode 3, out now. Check that out. I am spent, so I will talk to you later.
I've grown, ain't I? The skinny nigga with the fro to the slightly bigger nigga who's a killer with the flow. Went from YouTube beats and SoundCloud, nigga. The only difference now is that I found Twitter. Fuck it, it's struggle rap, man. They never see the trouble that I'm going through. The way I sing, they think I live in bubble wrap. Fuck all that, even though I'm on some poppin' shit. With my niggas as my witness, I'm a nigga who can spit. Don't believe me? Overlooking my potential, I'm that poet to a phone, that poet was to a pencil. My mental is similar to that of a lion, and I'm the king of